All right, so today we've got some very interesting stuff to cover. A lot of Raglan attempts have happened, and honestly, the race is kind of starting to even up, I think, amongst a lot of guilds. After, like, right as the video went live yesterday, Liquid did down Lords of Dread, kind of evening it up, just in terms of progression between the two guilds, and now both guilds are in a very similar spot.
Yeah, so both guilds are at like 150 Raglan pulls as of this recording. Liquid have the boss about 15%. Echo have it at 5%. But that 5-0 push, it's not clear how they're going to do that. They're going to have to change some stuff at the strategic level to avoid that enrage, because there's not really much they could do with just like pushing their buttons better on the pull that went to 5%.
Yeah, exactly. And so they did. Both guilds have slammed Vantis runes.
Yeah,
and are still. I think with a perfect pull, it even looks like Echo will be around like maybe the 2.5% to 3% mark, which then it comes into question of like how are they can't reasonably play 2.5% DPS better. So something I think needs to change from a strategy level.
Yeah, it's tough to imagine how they can do it without doing something like changing their comp or changing how they're assigning damage to even squeeze out a little bit more boss damage. But we've seen wipes as they've kind of tried to move towards more damage, and then consistency as they've moved away from damage, but they need to find a way to have damage and consistency, which is proving to be really tough. Liquid having a hard time with it as well, though. 150 pulls in, haven't even seen that 10% mark yet, but like I think their comp is capable of it too. The Vantises have been slammed. We could certainly see Raglan dying to either guild this week, but pretty hard to imagine us having Jailer die this reset, especially with the Vantises slammed and Raglan not dying today. I think it's becoming increasingly difficult for the Jailer to actually be a second reset boss. I bet we'll probably see Raglan die in the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
But I don't think we will see the Jailer getting much close to dead.
This means that all of the Race World First guilds need to be gearing up for like the third reset. They need to make sure that they're getting their reputation just so that they can move the legendary around.
For those who don't know, you don't need rep. You just need to do Chapter 7 if you want the 265 belt.
Yep.
But if you want the memory that lets you craft it on any slot at 291, which you do, that's better.
Yeah.
Then you do need Revered and Chapter 7 of the campaign.
It can make some compositions a little bit better. Like I know that Moonkin notably gains a lot from second legendary.
Right.
Mage and Hunter honestly gain very little from second legendary. So it may swing things a little bit in regards to like what is good versus what is bad. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to be like a blatant swing. And in all honesty, there are so many DPS compositions that we've seen this raid tier. Basically, every guild has insane amounts of comp coverage that was necessary anyways.
Yeah, so right now, as of the start of this, Liquid are early into their second to last day of this reset. When we wake up tomorrow, Echo will be starting their second to last day of this reset. We may see as we get into the final hours of the reset, the guild's really solidifying and deciding if there is any last-minute double Lego characters they want to try and push. But really, they kind of needed to know a couple weeks ago that this was coming.
Do you think that Raglan is killable on this like reset's worth of gear?
I think it probably is, but it's going to be such a hard boss because like the healing requirement is insane. They're dying while 5 healing it. The health bars are looking so deadly on that encounter.
Yeah.
And then they potentially need to 4 heal it to actually kill the boss.
Is it 4 healable?
I think it's probably one of the cases where, like, yeah, if they do 500 pulls, they could maybe kill it with a 4 heal comp with this gear. But whether that happens before I don't think they have enough time in the reset to do that before double Legos come out. So,
yeah, that seems reasonable.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I could see it dying tomorrow for sure off of just really good strategy.
Then at that point, like, God, we're running into an issue of like the whole raid has been tuned around 4-piece double legendary, and it's like what is supposed to be nerfed versus what is supposed to be intended.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind as long as it's like, I mean, if it's really hard but not impossible without the double Legos, I think I'm okay with it.
Sure.
But if we do see a case of like, yeah, Liquid rolls in with double Legos and like Jailer dies in 50 pulls while EU is still on reset 2, that's going to be very very fried.
It mattered a lot less whenever it happened to Anduin because there's still a lot of the race to happen.
Right.
it would matter a ton for Lords of Dread, because then that just gives you, or not Lords of Dread, Rygolon, because that gives you a ton of time on Jailer.
And similarly, I think another potentially worrying case is if whichever guild makes it to the Jailer first, encounters a overtuned, buggy boss and loses all the value that they got out of killing Rygolon first. You know, that's another potential case here where we can look at it and be like, this is kind of scuffed.
But the gap is kind of closing between most of the guilds. Lords of Dread is proving to be very challenging for basically guilds that don't have insanely optimized compositions. But right now, it seems like SK Pieces, Skyline, and Method, they are all sitting at 8 out of 11, pulling Lords of Dread, and they are running insane comps for that boss.
SK Pieces are not pulling Lords of Dread. They're literally saying, we're not doing this week.
They were pulling it earlier.
But they've been pulling Rygolon last I saw.
Oh, okay. They were pulling it. They were pulling it whenever I checked earlier today.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Well, last I had seen of them, they were pulling Rygolon instead, and they were like, this Lords of Dread boss is silly. We'll get it next reset. Let's get some Rygolon prog in. I'm curious what Skyline and Method are choosing to do with their time as well.
Skyline had been pulling Lords of Dread as well, and they had like 5 Surf Hunters.
Yeah, and they have item level as well, so that's definitely a guild that could see that kill and, I mean, potentially compete for World Third here, which would be a really impressive spot for Skyline to be. I think of the guilds in the top 6, Skyline is the one that the fewest people would have predicted to be in the top 6 right now.
But the reason I think that the gap is closing necessarily on this is, like, if any of these guilds that are currently sitting at 8 out of 11, or even honestly the guilds that are sitting at 7 out of 11, are able to down Lords of Dread, Rygolon comes around with that second legendary, and then like you get like an additional resets worth of gear, that could kind of be a big equalizer for a lot of guilds.
Yeah, ultimately at the end of the day, like, certainly Echo and Liquid have the overwhelming chance of getting World First and Second.
Yes.
Is Echo and Liquid. But if they play badly on the Jailer, and if one of these guilds plays really well on the Jailer, they could absolutely make something crazy happen. It has been a race that, because it's going so late and there's going to be this equalizing double Lego third reset thing, definitely a lot of this kind of early jockeying for position is going to be erased by that. So we do have now 12 total guilds on 7 of 11 or higher at this point, with the Crab dead, that kind of big wall that is standing there in the way then of way more guilds that are at 6.
I think it's going to be relatively close towards the end. I think the top 5 is going to be super competitive because we have so many more guilds that are put into participation for that. Aster and Skyline, BDGG, SK Pieces, Method, I think are all the front runners. Even Aversion could sneak into the top 5 if they play super well. I think it's going to be a real big race towards the end.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what the Race to World Third, Race to World Fourth, all of those kind of last second things look like. A huge amount, though, is going to come down to Mythic Jailer. And very soon, in our next couple videos, we're going to get to start talking about that encounter, because there's so many different ways that boss could go down.
What does the bald man bring?
That is the question.
All right.
We will be back next couple days to answer just that.
Do you have any predictions, though, for tomorrow?
I think Rygolon 50-50 it dies.
Okay, 50-50?
50-50, what do you think?
I don't think Rygolon dies within now to the next video.
Okay, in the next 24 hours? Fair enough.
I don't think it does.
We'll see how it turns out. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Later.